Today we're getting you a big interview. I'm going to be reaching out to Dunzo and one of the co-founders to find out why it's burning so much cash. Today we all woke up and read those news reports about how Dunzo's revenues are only 76 lakh rupees, whereas its loss for the full financial year has been at a staggering 169 crores. This is a company that has gone through several funding rounds. It's backed by the likes of Google. In fact, Dunzo was one of the first investments that Google made in the country. It's got others like Lightbox, Bloom Ventures, even Deep Kalra is believed to have been invested in this company. So let me invite Kabeer Biswas, one of the co-founders at Dunzo, right here on Startup Central. Kabeer, thank you so much for this exclusive interview. We really appreciate it. You know, you've been the darling of the hyper-local delivery market. Call it flattery. Someone like Swiggy has also tried to attempt what you're doing. But can you just clear the air for us? What's going on? Why are you burning so much cash? Only 76 lakhs in revenues and loss of 169 crores.
Okay, Nayantara, two analogies to be able to address that. I think the numbers, the way they got picked up, were picked up in a specific fashion. So there is a little bit of a single, what you call unidimensional way of looking at it. We report our lowest possible numbers as revenue and not our highest possible numbers, which means a large part of what users pay for the service right now gets directly what you call passed through to our delivery partners, and that's not actually accounted for revenue because the delivery partners are making all of that money and they're not making any commissions on top of that. So for everything that you read on revenue out there, the numbers that we are reporting are the lowest possible that you could find out there. The second one is I'll give you an analogy. I'll give you an analogy of any old economy business in which you set up an industry. What happens in year one of when you set up the industry? You actually go ahead and spend a lot of capex amount of money to actually set that industry up, and then from next year it starts paying for itself. Correct?
Yeah.
We are looking at our numbers right now, and for the last 6 months, which is for this financial, those numbers instead of whatever it was 1:200, it's already down to about 1:15. So that's exactly what ended up happening. We set up our factory last year, and now we are making money from it.
You know, I do get another very famous idiom, which is that you have to spend money to make money. Have you finished that cash burning cycle?
Largest, what you call cash outlay, not in total numbers though, Nayantara, but as a ratio, because I think the ratio over here is really what the question is. It's not really the $20 million that's actually gotten spent. It's the ratio of revenue versus what you call cash burn that's happened. That ratio, I don't think will ever look like that anymore. It was just a one-time thing.
So you have bottomed out. Is that the message that you're basically sending?
We have bottomed out in terms of capex spends as a one-time spend, yes, not in terms of growth. We are growing faster than we have ever grown right now. What has happened is, and take this analogy exactly in this fashion, right? Suppose you want to start a company, which is in the old economy business. What happens on day zero? You have to spend 20 crore rupees to set out your industry. After you spend that, there is no additional cost in going ahead and what you call setting up more units for you to make money on top of that. So you make a one-time investment into the business to say, okay, great, now I've created this. It will keep generating revenue on top of that. So that's why I think the numbers from last year versus the numbers this year is really what you would want to compare. That 1:200 number is already down to 1:15 at this point. So yeah.
Okay, so you have come down to 1:15. Now, another part that you said in the first answer was that Dunzo doesn't report its highest possible number, which is, of course, the practice in not just the startup universe, but corporate India at large and corporations around the world, but rather the lowest revenue number. What exactly does that mean? And what could your highest number be? If it's higher than 76 lakhs, what could it be?
So potentially for every transaction that we run, we have a realization of close to $1, slightly shy of $1. If you were to look at everything in terms of realization that we make from our users as well as from our merchants in terms of revenue, we must have run close to what? 4 million transactions last year. So the probable number could have been close to about 4.5 million. But that's not the way you should think of revenue. That is the way you should think of realization. There are multiple numbers in a balance sheet, and I think somewhere the numbers were reported in a particular fashion. We should look at what the amount of money that went through the platform, which is gross transaction value. What's the realization of what Dunzo could have potentially gone ahead and made? What it actually recognizes as revenue after going ahead and setting off its direct costs, and then the cost below that. I think it's a very nuanced approach. It's a choice in the approach because what it does is it allows us to go ahead and build a better balance sheet. That's what we believe. So that's why we have done that. But yeah, potentially the number could have been, yeah, fairly about 6x, 7x of what we're talking about. No, actually much more than that. Yeah.
Okay,
so
so you
about $4.5 million. Yeah.
Okay. So now that you have said that from here on, the one-time capex spend, which has resulted in the kind of loss that we've seen, 1:15 type ratio and all of that, is behind you, what would the immediate focus be? Is it going to be on strengthening the balance sheet? Is it business as usual at Dunzo?
So I think it's been business as usual for a while for us. I think the way we think about it is we are investing in growth because we're going at a market which is massive. We're looking at close to 1 trillion monthly transactions that are happening that we're trying to bring online. The other thing that we are very excited about is we have actually turned some of our most premium geographies profitable. And so think of this business as small geographies. Don't think of it as a total balance sheet. We are in about 150 geographies right now, which are in 8 cities. Of that, the top 5 are actually now starting to turn profitable. And so we're very excited because I think for the first time across the globe, we might have actually figured out what a profitable hyperlocal business looks like. When you mentioned about being the darling, I think the honest opinion is if you can't make money, there's not really a value in being the darling. But I think we are very, very proud of the fact that we finally know how to make money in this business. And not too many people globally can actually say that.
You finally know how to make money. You're, of course, in the hyperlocal business in neighborhoods. You want to share with us? I'm not going to say show us the money like they did in Jerry Maguire, but do you want to share with us which neighborhood or which hyperlocal market turned profitable, where you learned? And you know, I have to say it, how you might make money in Bengaluru will be very different from how you might have to make it in Gurgaon, right?
Absolutely. No, so our first geography that actually went profitable was in Pune. The second one, which is very close, is in Bangalore. We are also going at 3 geographies in Bangalore right now and another one in Gurgaon. So we're taking a full spread across the country about saying as to how profitability looks like. You're spot on. Every geography has its own nuances about how to get profitable. And I think we were able to crack that piece. So in fact, the first day when we made money, we made 7 paise on all our transactions. It was such a happy day. Now we make close to about nearly double digits. But I think that's been the most exciting part of the last 6 months, where we finally have figured out exactly how to make money out of the geography.
So tell me something today when what you're describing to be one-dimensional way of reporting revenues, did you get frantic calls from your shareholders?
Not from my shareholders, from everybody else. It was the funnest part about it.
Only friends and family.
No, it was just really funny. But no, it was all right. I think what it does do, and which is where I really request everybody out there, is to be extremely supportive of wanting to build startups. They're really, really difficult to build. 1 in 1,000 actually goes ahead and succeeds and makes it really big. I think 10,000 or maybe 15,000 actually survive. I think what we would really request from everybody in the ecosystem is that just it's a tough gig. It's not really like as glamorous or glorious as it seems. And I think any part of support that can exist would be awesome from all fronts of the media and otherwise. My investors were the most supportive ones. They sent me with a smiley, the note, and it's incredible to have supportive investors. I don't think I've seen folks like this. But I think what does happen is it causes a little bit of conversation and chaos in the ecosystem, and for stakeholders and people who are working with you at Dunzo, who might not really, like somebody who's actually managing a support transaction, right? There's no need for that person to go ahead and feel panic. And that's the one that we really request everybody to go ahead and be a little more cognizant of the way something like this actually gets reported. But yeah, I think that's been the funnest part of everything that's happened in the last 24 hours. We are very, very transparent as a business. Our financials are available to everybody internally within the team, right? But I think what this did do was that I had to take out half a day and make sure that I communicate internally and make sure that everybody knows exactly where we are and what our approach to this whole thing is. But no, it's been interesting to see responses.
You have, so now that you've done all of that, spent half your day, including coming on Startup Central on ET Now, which we are very grateful for, you also said is business as usual. What do we see from Dunzo going ahead?
Super. So I think there's always going to be growth and there's going to be expansion. By the end of next year, we should be in about 14 cities. 14 cities, yeah. I think the way we are though going about this is we want to be very logical in the way capital gets deployed at Dunzo. We truly believe that what the internet found about 5 years back with Uber was a very 1.0 version of on-demand businesses, right? Where you figured out that mobile phones can actually suddenly go ahead and everybody's got a mobile phone and you can get these transactions in the real world done. I think what we are building is we are building what looks like the 2.0 version of on-demand businesses, where we actually figure out how to make money and then scale the business. Because if you scale the business and then figure out that you can't make money, it becomes very, very expensive. So for us, we want to make sure that we're building a responsible business. We're building something that actually goes ahead and makes money and returns money for people. And going ahead and deploying capital in a fashion that's a lot more judicious. When we see returns, when we see geographies that are turning profitable. So yes, growth, but a fairly responsible version of how growth will look.
Okay, so are you therefore, in other ways, saying that while you will be less judicious and you will show more responsibility? Could I read that as a way of saying that maybe you have not been as responsible, if not been irresponsible?
Meant versus competition globally.
Okay. Now
Yeah.
you have a
Basically, the
competitive
idea in Nayantara is that
with its
the
Go.
thing is that we want to grow the platform by 10x in the next 15 to 18 months' time. But when we do that, we will actually go ahead and make very judicious choices in the way we go about deploying that capital and ensure that that capital is deployed in a fashion that we start seeing returns from that within 18 months' time. At the end of the day, it's a three-sided platform. It's users, merchants, and delivery partners. We need to be able to make sure that every time a transaction runs, there is enough juice within the transaction that it pays for itself. That I think is the idea.
I want to now talk to you about a competition as well. You've thanked Swiggy in the past for entering this business. Maybe it bolsters the ecosystem. It helps you also maybe get onto riders and the two-wheeler walas, electric vehicles, all of that. Was that why you thanked Swiggy? And is it also bad for business? Because in a market, in a hyper-local market, there's only going to be that much business, right?
I think that's not the way that I think either any of us looks at it. Right? I just mentioned. I think we're in a business that most likely we will bring a significant chunk of local commerce online. Local commerce in this country is massive, right? It is multitudes of what you are really seeing on e-commerce at this point of time. You must obviously be shopping from local stores in your vicinity, and those transactions are at least 15, 20 times a month. Uh, Nantara, for about 50 odd million consumers who have disposable income in this country, you're talking about 20 transactions, you're talking about a trillion transactions a month that we are going after. If we are all tapping out on the market very quickly, then most likely the market's not big enough. But actually, genuinely, we don't worry about how big the market is. We think the market is massive, but you have to go at it very responsibly. You have to make sure that every time you are driving growth, that growth is actually going to add revenue to you. That's actually going to be viable in the long run. And that's why the stark difference in the way we have been able to improve our finances and become profitable in geographies. And the thing that we are proud about most is actually to go ahead and be profitable. Competition, sure, nothing in India doesn't get competed for. So two people going at it, we are absolutely happy about that.
Okay, with that, Kabeer Biswas, I promised you that I wouldn't take more than 15 minutes of your time, and I believe my time is up. I'd really like to thank you for taking these 15 minutes out to clear the air on Startup Central. That's co-founder of Dunzo, Kabeer Biswas, only on ET Now, clarifying the air, saying do not see the earnings in a unidimensional way. It was a one-time capex, a one-time cost that had to be incurred. You have to spend money to make money. They intend to have 1 trillion transactions a month. That's, of course, the goal. We wish you at the entire team at Dunzo all the very best.
Thanks, man. See you soon. Bye-bye.